River Rosenquist. On December 29, 2021, a contract worker named River Rosenquist entered a restricted area near the tiger enclosure at the Naples Zoo after closing time. The area was separated from the tiger by a metal barrier. While standing there, he reached his arm through an opening in the fence toward the animal. The tiger immediately grabbed his arm and pulled it through the barrier. Staff and emergency responders rushed to the scene and tried to force the tiger to release its grip. Despite staff trying to intervene, the tiger's bite caused severe lacerations and crushing injuries to his arm and upper body. River succumbed to these injuries before he could be rescued.
Maqsood Khan. On September 23, 2014, a young man named Maqsood Khan fell into the white tiger enclosure at the Delhi Zoo. He landed only a few feet away from the animal. For several moments, the tiger slowly approached, while a crowd gathered above the enclosure shouting instructions. Some told him to stay still, while others shouted for him to climb out. The tiger circled him curiously at first, but when he tried to move away, the animal suddenly reacted. The animal lunged and attacked. The tiger bit his neck, torso, and limbs, inflicting crushing injuries and deep puncture wounds. Medical personnel pronounced him dead from massive trauma caused by the tiger's attack.
Nordin bin Montang. On November 13, 2008, a cleaner named Nordin bin Montang climbed over the barrier into the white tiger enclosure at the Singapore Zoo. Witnesses said he was carrying a broom and a yellow bucket and shouting as he walked into the enclosure. At first, many visitors thought it was part of a performance. 3 white tigers slowly approached him. One suddenly struck him and knocked him to the ground. Another tiger quickly joined the attack, and the animals began biting and dragging him deeper into the enclosure. Nordin sustained over 90 wounds, including broken ribs and a crushed skull. The severity of the bite injuries and trauma left him with no chance of survival, and he died at the scene.
Tatiana the tiger. On December 25, 2007, a Siberian tiger named Tatiana escaped from her enclosure at the San Francisco Zoo. Earlier that evening, several visitors had reportedly been shouting and throwing objects toward the animal. Not long after, the tiger suddenly ran toward the enclosure wall and leapt over it. The barrier was lower than recommended safety standards, making the jump possible. Once outside the enclosure, the tiger moved through the zoo grounds and encountered several visitors nearby. Before staff realized the animal had escaped, Tatiana bit and clawed her victims, inflicting catastrophic injuries to the neck, chest, and limbs. One visitor died from multiple puncture wounds and extensive trauma caused by the tiger's attack, before staff could subdue the animal.
Alexis Martinez. On December 24, 2009, trainer Alexis Martinez entered the pool with a killer whale named Keto during a rehearsal at the Laurel Park. At first, the session followed the normal routine. Trainers gave signals, and the whale responded with trained movements. But during the rehearsal, Keto suddenly stopped cooperating. The whale began pushing Alexis through the water and blocking his attempts to swim toward the side of the pool. Trainers opened the gate to guide the whale into another area, but Keto resisted and continued circling him. The repeated underwater attacks crushed Alexis's chest and caused severe internal injuries. Despite rescue attempts, he died from massive internal bleeding and organ damage caused by the whale's force.
Maddox derkosh. On November 4, 2012, a 2-year-old called Maddox derkosh was standing on a viewing deck overlooking the African painted dog exhibit at the Pittsburgh Zoo and PPG Aquarium. The deck had railings and warning signs telling visitors not to lift children onto them, but Maddox's mother lifted him up so he could see the animals more clearly. Within seconds, he slipped from her arms and fell about 14 feet into the enclosure below. There was a safety net under the deck, but it was designed only to catch small items like phones or sunglasses. When he landed inside the habitat, the painted dogs immediately attacked him. Despite efforts from zookeepers to intervene, Maddox suffered severe bite wounds and trauma from the fall. He died from massive internal injuries caused by the crushing force and the attacks.
Brancheua. On February 24, 2010, experienced trainer Don Brancheua was working with the killer whale Tilikum at SeaWorld Orlando shortly after a performance. Trainers often interacted closely with the whales at the edge of the pool as part of the routine. Dawn was lying beside the water when Tilikum suddenly lunged upward. The whale grabbed her by the arm and hair and pulled her into the tank. Trainers immediately began emergency procedures, throwing nets and trying to guide the whale into another pool. But Tilikum repeatedly dragged her underwater and across the tank, making it difficult for staff to reach her. Dawn sustained severe blunt force trauma, drowning injuries, and massive tissue damage. She was pronounced dead at the scene due to a combination of drowning and injuries inflicted by the whale.